Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Snap Aim Podcast. It's been a minute since I've done this. I feel really bad, but I ended up kind of taking an unintentional break during Thanksgiving time, and then it just kind of kept steamrolling. So unfortunately, that's what happened. But I am going to do my very best to keep this updated, even during the holiday season, because I am not going anywhere for Christmas. So maybe we could do like a nice little like Christmas specific episode. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, so we are going to be discussing why I gave Warzone an 8 in my IGN review today. And I'm also going to talk about how Fortnite just continues to impress in the Battle Royale field. And then I want to talk about High on Life and my original impressions on the game so far, which I've gotten 3 hours of gameplay in. And it's not a very long game, but there's a lot that you can actually stumble across, which is really cool. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So starting off with Warzone, I want to remind y'all that I did not like the original Warzone. I actually really liked Blackout way better. Something about being able to pick up attachments, the way that everything was set in that Battle Royale. I was like, okay, yeah, this feels like a Battle Royale. But when I played Warzone, the original, when it came out, I was like, this doesn't feel like a Battle Royale. It feels like an extended version of Call of Duty, like a game mode of Call of Duty, but it feels like, I don't know, an extended multiplayer mode, because you could still revive your teammates. You could come back, respawn so many times, especially with the buy stations. But once I got used to the fact that it was its own unique experience, I think I realized that it works as a Battle Royale. But my initial impressions were just, I miss Blackout. This is weird. So I will say, I still don't like how long Warzone matches are, because now, I mean, there's up to 150 players per lobby in any mode, which if you're playing solos, that is a lot. I had to do solos recently because if you get top 20 in solos, you get a raid assignment, which unlocks a raid that you can then go in and do that PvE event. But yeah, that was one of the harder ones. It was fine. I mostly just stuck to my own areas. Made sure to use all my kill streaks and such, UAVs to make sure I was safe. And like, honestly, the gunplay in Warzone is pretty easy. Like, Call of Duty is not really a difficult shooter to play. It's just that the people who play are really, really good, right? People spend a lot of time mastering different weapons and such, which, by the way, I was doing that this weekend because it is double XP and free weekend, and Shipment 24/7 came out. So that is a fantastic way to level and get your gold camo skins, which I actually have 3 now. I have one for the Bryson shotgun, one for the Fennec SMG, and for the Signal sniper, which is amazing. I have never gotten a gold camo in any Call of Duty game, and I never cared enough. But then this time around, I was like, well, I'm actually playing Warzone, so why not? So anyways, I got off track there. But yeah, so Warzone 2.0, I was like, okay, this feels like an extension of Warzone 1. Obviously, a few things have been changed. I don't know why they decided to use the backpack system. It's being able to go from medium to large, like having to upgrade. I'm already not a huge fan of the backpack system in Battle Royales. Like Apex, I complain a lot about that. I feel like there should be a way for you to craft larger backpacks, or at least buy them. Like in Warzone, I do believe you can buy them, but it like rotates what you can buy. And in Apex, it also rotates what you can craft that week. So it's a little interesting. But I don't like that system. And also the fact that you have to individually click on things you have to click into the backpack, and then you have to empty it out in order to get the weapon that's in there. And it's a little wonky. It's not perfect. And I haven't seen a lot of updates roll out with Warzone that kind of fix these little issues. But hopefully we do, because we've been seeing a lot of updates. But that was a big reason why Warzone lost points for me. And of course, there are some lagging issues, but that's with any multiplayer game now, I guess. And I didn't really like the way that it took a couple of days for the game to even be playable after launch. So that was a big reason on why my review was delayed, which a lot of people are like, well, where's the review? Why is it like so late? And I'm like, well, it took some time to get into it. And then the holidays hit, like Thanksgiving hit, and no one was around. So it was pretty tough. But the issues did kind of iron out. It is still weird that every time I load into the game, whether it's multiplayer or Warzone, it takes at least one game for my entire game to actually settle and give me a solid, consistent FPS and not jitter every time. It's really weird. But like clockwork, after the first game, it's usually fine. I can go to playing it like nothing ever happened, which is great. But when I initially wrote the review, my coworkers who were helping me, revise the review, like explain my views, they pointed out that it sounded more like it was going to be a 7 than an 8. But I was like, well, okay, maybe I'm being more critical. When I write, I do like to point out in depth the things that I don't like and the things that I do like. But in this case, the things that I spoke about in depth were negative because there was just so much more to explain about it. So we had to rewrite some of the stuff to make it sound like, to make it understandable why I was talking about these things. So yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting, some of the things that Warzone tries to incorporate. The biggest reason why Warzone wasn't a 7 was proximity chat. I honestly didn't think proximity chat was going to be really fun for me, but once I started playing, I realized that proximity chat is actually really, really fun. And people were actually not uncivilized. They were pretty nice. I mean, yeah, you had some people who like wouldn't hold up their end of the bargain, but it's like, it's a battle royale, right? I don't expect everyone to be like, yeah, join our team. Or like, yeah, we agree to, stop ceasefire. Like, obviously, I don't expect everyone to actually hold up that end of the deal. But the fact that that was an option was really cool. I did end up getting, I didn't get this footage for the review, but I did end up getting a gulag match where everyone chose. They're like, hey, you want to fight the jailer? We're like, yeah, let's do it. You stand on our side, we'll stand on our side. No one shoot each other. We shoot him. We did that, and it was awesome. Like, everyone actually went for the main objective, and it was really cool. We were like, yeah, have a good game. See you later. It was really cool. I liked it. I also don't like the gulag system, which I explained this in the video and the review as well. It's the 2v2 doesn't make a lot of sense when you're playing in solos either. So the whole fact that it's a 2v2 is really weird. You have to rely on a random person. And I understand that because they're using proximity chat, they want this idea of like a social thing to really pop up in the game. But I didn't like it. I don't like the 2v2. And also, every time I play a gulag, I can count on one hand how many times I've gotten a different weapon other than the pistol. And even then, it's just like a shotgun. It's so strange. I really don't like it. I really want gunfight to be back in the game because it was so fun. Like, the 2v2 was really competitive. I love that. But this gulag system is really disappointing. And that's also another reason that I docked a point from my review, because it doesn't feel like the previous Warzone, which I really liked. You have to rely on yourself. It was like a very small map, and your weaponry changed every time. But every time I go to Warzone, every time I go to the gulag now, it's the same pistol. It's the same gear. And I'm like, this is really disappointing. Also, it's just really interesting that you can pick up a 3 vest in there, but you can't level it up. Like, you can't actually put armor plates on. So it's just for you to collect and drop back into the map with if you win. Granted, it's pretty cool, but I feel like the victor should be rewarded that just at the end for winning, just because, like, you don't give us any other weapons to use. Why am I constantly spawning back in, especially halfway through the match, with just a pistol? It's awful. Just give me a random set of weapons to at least drop into the map with. So that was a big thing that I did not like. And also, the map was very bland. Not that that was a big... Honestly, the map wasn't a huge thing for me in terms of scoring, but I did want to point out that it looked very, like, plain. I have my favorite POIs that I like to land. I like to land Turok Village, which is really fun. But that's about it. Like, the layout of the map is a little bit boring, but it's based off of, like, a realistic sort of city, right? So I'm like, all right, I get it. It's fine. Whatever. The water is really cool, which is, again, a point up to the review, which is why I liked it, because you're able to just traverse around with any method you want, which is amazing. That's great. I really liked that you have the freedom to do what you want in the game, I guess. I will say, though, that the contracts in Warzone 2.0, they're a little lacking. Like, I don't find myself doing that, because you can just run around, collect stuff, go to strongholds, and get money, and you can just buy whatever you want. Or you can kill people, and get money, and you don't have to do the contracts. Like, yes, some of the contracts give you intel, but honestly, like, you don't have to do that. So it is a little interesting. I think 150 players are a lot, especially for this big map, and the circle split is really cool. I do love that, especially when it splits into 3 and then it slowly converges. It holds that shape as it converges into one circle. I like that. And then the end circle constantly moving, so people have to move. I love that. That was a huge plus. I was like, more battle royales need to do this because this is really cool. Apex would do really well from that because it's just one of those things where people are going to be camping in the final circle, holding different points, and you're just like, I don't think I want to do this fight. I know how this goes. We have to. If you're not there first, you're gonna die because everyone's camped out and they have everything to hold you out with. So, while yes, that takes some sort of strategizing, I do love the fact that the last circle in Warzone is just a mad scramble. You have to constantly move back and forth to where the circle is going to go, and you have no idea where it's going to go. You don't have a scan legend that's going to tell you, hey, it's going to be here. And I really like that. So I thought that they did a lot of good things, but they also did some things that were a little questionable, like the armor and the backpack system where you have to upgrade it. It is a little weird. I do like that you're still able to respawn your teammates pretty far into the match, but again, each match takes so long. It takes 30 minutes just to get it down to like half the lobby. And I know they introduced Mini Royale, which is really good. It's like half the people, half the map, and it's much faster. So it's like twice the speed, which is great. So this review wasn't even talking about the new updates that came out. This was just about the base game, which I think I also gave it an 8 because I realized that Warzone is constantly updating stuff, and Warzone originally had a bunch of collabs too. So the only other battle royale that I really think of major collabs with is Fortnite, which we'll talk about later. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's really nice to know that your game is being looked at, updated. Obviously, there's some things that got messed up, like with the previous update. Buy stations got cut in half, but then they brought them back and, you know, they're working on balancing. So I understand that. But, you know, it's really nice to know that the company is looking at that game as a major game, and they're just like, yeah, we need to constantly update this. Live service games, very hard to deal with and very hard to keep up with. So it's really nice to see that constantly being updated. And I started paying attention to the patch notes with Warzone, and there's a lot that they do fix, especially with the weapons. But it's interesting because they have to balance it across the Modern Warfare and Warzone. So it is a little interesting to keep an eye on that. Doidle Walk in chat asks, do you think that the map design is partially a consequence of needing to design a lot of PvE stuff too? I think so. There are a lot of buildings. So I've noticed, because I like to land in Turok Village, is right above the oil site. I've noticed that I like landing there because there is guaranteed a stronghold in one of 2 buildings. And it's really, really easy to tell, like, when you land, it's like, oh, it's one of these 2. And it's great. I love that. Doesn't change. And of course, these 2 buildings also have to be able to hold a bunch of enemies, right? Because that might turn into a fortress, who knows, in the middle of the match. So I think it does have a lot of the PvE elements built into it, especially since it also has to hold DMZ. So, DMZ is also another reason why I gave the game an 8, because Warzone and DMZ are in the same mode, basically. So I had to lump them in. And DMZ definitely brought the score up a lot because it has a lot more replayability than Warzone, because Warzone can get pretty tiring. You don't want to constantly be spawning in to like 150 players and being like, oh my God, I waited like 40 minutes and there's still 40 people alive. Like, this is going to take forever. So yeah, I mean, again, I think the map design is a little bland, but there are lots of different ways for you to traverse, which probably was accounting for the AI, because you can traverse through water, which is really great. You can get away from major cities that way. You can also take to the air. You can drive, which is great, but also like it's the loudest way to transport. So it's interesting, but the buildings are definitely PvE focused, because you can tell how many buildings were like made bigger to like account for like strongholds, AI and strongholds. The fact that in DMZ they keep dropping off enemies in helicopters. And same with Warzone. Once you find a fortress, there are constantly AI coming in. So it is really cool that they've been able to make their buildings bigger and accommodate for the AI and PvE stuff, but it's still kind of bland. like the backgrounds and environment. I wish we're a little bit more varied. And I used this in my review, you know, like Fortnite always has different environments, like snowy area, I don't know, like bouncy house area or whatever. But I also pointed out in Apex, World's Edge has so many different climates in one match, and there's even like lava in there. So I was like, this would have been nice in Warzone. But I also, again, going back to the fact that they wanted to make it like a realistic location, I get it. It's fine. I understand. So it's one of those things where I was like, it would have been nice, but, I get it. It's a military sim. But I think the main reason I gave it an 8 instead of a 9 or a 10, which I gave Apex a 9 and I gave Apex Mobile an 8 because it was okay, but it definitely had a lot of flaws. So the reason I gave Apex Legends Mobile an 8 is because no one ever plays it like an actual battle royale with teammates. And that sucks. It takes away from the original experience. It's fine to it's a mobile game. Not a lot of people are going to play it, but there's still a pretty big player base that does. So, that was for them. With Warzone 2.0 being an 8, I deducted points from the new looting system, which is just inconvenient sometimes. I took away a little bit from the performance, honestly, because it took like 3-4 days for me to actually get good game time in because it just was not workable. I gave it extra points for prox chat, which is amazing. It makes the game feel so much more alive. Like all the people that you're playing against, you feel like they're actually people and you feel like they're fellow soldiers on the battlefield, which is amazing. It is an experience you don't really get. Now, it was pointed out to me that PUBG has proximity chat now, which is fine. But I grew out of PUBG, so I haven't played in forever. And prox chat here just works really well just because there's such a big audience for Call of Duty. And it works because their population is huge. So you get so many different characters, so many different personalities in one lobby. And it's really, really fun. I really enjoy it. Another plus, DMZ, really fun to go in. I didn't even talk about this mode in depth, but it's really fun. It's Escape from Tarkov, but Call of Duty, but it's much faster. There's a lot of AI to run through, and they hit like a truck sometimes. And the faction missions are really, really cool. Some are convoluted, but I really enjoy it because it makes you actually have to work with your teammates. It gives you a different sense of, oh, I can do this. And we can just grind this together, and this is something to focus on, as opposed to just being like, let's go and loot and extract, It gives you something else to focus on, which is really great. So that's really fun. I like being able to play DMZ between matches of Warzone where you're just like, I'm kind of tired of just running around and then dying halfway through, and we're only in top 50. Let's go ahead and play some DMZ and, get it out of our system, then come back. It's a really nice way to break. Another plus, which brought the score back up for me, was the circle splits and then the final circle being final circle moving around, which was great. So my review of Warzone took 2 weeks to get published just because of holidays and also the fact that I couldn't really get into matches. But yeah, an 8 felt fair. It's not perfect. It's still fun. And an 8 is, I believe, on our scale. Let me scroll down here. Yeah. So an 8 on our scale is great. A 7 is good. So it means it's fine, right? An 8 is great. Not perfect, but it's still fun, highly enjoyable, and replayable. So yeah, that was my reasoning behind that. And yeah, I hope you do go back and read my in-depth review. It is really fun. I do actually end up finding myself playing this a lot more. I haven't even touched Apex this season since the season started. So it's a little it sucks because Apex was my main game, but I don't know. Warzone has been able to really capture my attention because it's really easy to jump into. Gunplay's really easy. It's fun. The people make it very fun. So yeah, I gave it an 8. Replayability is great. DMZ is great. All my friends play it, and if they're not, I can convince them to play because it's actually really fun. So All right. I have spent like 24 minutes talking about Warzone. I feel like we can move on to our next topic here. So I want to talk about, oh my goodness, I want to talk about Fortnite. Speaking of battle royales that have just constantly impressed, like Fortnite is one of those that just does not stop to impress. So even if you don't like Fortnite, you have to admit that it is just incredible what they've been able to do. I mean, this is the one game that they've been able to take offline and people will still come back in droves to play. The fact that this season they took it down and then they upgraded it to Unreal Engine 5.1. They upgraded the engine and they added extra things. That they added extra stuff. So this is a whole new chapter, right? So Fortnite now has chapters and seasons. Chapters are like encompassing a whole series of seasons and then they start over. They completely started over fresh. I don't know if you were all part of the event that happened, but basically there was an explosion, galactic explosion, and you had to help rebuild the island piece by piece, which was really cool. And with Chapter 4, they incorporated Unreal Engine 5, and Unreal Engine 5 helped them bring in Nanite, Lumen, Virtual Shadow Maps, Temporal Super Resolution for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, PC, and cloud gaming, which is incredible. So I'm going to go over what each one does, right? So Nanite provides highly detailed architectural geometry. Specifically, buildings are rendered from millions of polygons in real time, and each brick, stone, wood plank, and wall trim is modeled, which is incredible. For something that has such a specific stylized look to it as Fortnite, it is incredible that they have been able to utilize such fine rendering. And Lumen also helps with reflections. So Lumen reflections provide high quality ray traced reflections on glossy materials and water, which when I was playing earlier this weekend, the water looked incredible. The water looked different. When I landed in the water and I was down, I was like, wait a minute, this water looks nice. Which is also interesting because Modern Warfare 2, Infinity Ward was explaining how they worked on their water graphics and water tech as well. So it's really interesting to see everyone reverting to or switching over to really work on their water graphics. So Lumen helps with the water and character lightings and interior spaces. And the most interesting part is that outfits that have glowing qualities will scatter light on nearby objects and surfaces. That is a lot of detail for a battle royale. Like for a fucking battle royale where it's like cartoony art, that's incredible. And virtual shadow maps allow for highly detailed shadowing. Each brick, leaf, and model detail will cast a shadow, and character self-shadowing is extremely accurate. So that means hats and other small details on characters will also cast shadows. Temporal Super Resolution, or TSR, is an upgrade over temporal anti-aliasing in Fortnite and allows for high quality visuals at a high frame rate. So when I first started playing Fortnite the last season, every time it would take me 2 games for the game to stop stuttering and kind of get its graphics in order. But now it doesn't take that. It takes like 30 seconds for my game to warm up, quote unquote, and then it's good to go. And it's been so smooth. It has been so smooth. I turned down all my settings, but I don't think I need to. I think with this update, you actually don't need to turn down your settings as much, and because it's meant to take off the stress. So the video settings changed on PC as well. So if you are jumping into this season, make sure that you revert everything back to how you liked it, because when I started playing, my UI was huge. So a lot of stuff got changed back, but there are specific motion blur settings, VSync settings, rendering mode, and all that stuff, which is really good. So you can change things back to what you want. So yeah, and you can even turn off all of this extra stuff like the nanite virtualized geometry if you want. But it does default to higher epic. So if that's too much stress on your PC, like turn it down. So it is really incredible. The GPU requirements that you need is NVIDIA Maxwell generation cards are newer, AMD GCN generation cards are newer, and you need the latest graphic drivers, of course, which I think I actually have. I'll have to double check, but my PC just restarted right before I started recording this podcast, so I'm pretty sure it's back on track. So yeah, it must have upgraded. For PC specifications to run Nanite, you need the GeForce RTX 2080 or newer. Luckily, I am right at that, so I can run it. Yeah, you do need the rendering mode to DirectX 12 as well. So it's incredible, though. Like, the fact that people kind of overlooked the Fortnite's ability to incorporate such major changes by taking their game offline for like a day or two. That's something that I really want Apex to do, because Fortnite over the course of the years has been able to constantly bring in upgrades, new partnerships with different companies, and it's really cool. But Apex has given us the third same Winter Express mode for Christmas and for the holidays for 3 years in a row. And I love Apex. I think it's one of the best battle royales out there, but it is severely lacking in its updates, and I really need them to do some more updates, because it is getting very frustrating to try and support this game when you know the developers are really good, you know that they're really talented, they can do so much, and they gave us this amazing game, but the updates are just not being released as much as you want. It's kind of like how I feel about Halo Infinite, though to a lesser degree. Halo Infinite's updates definitely are far and few between, but they are trying to up their update speeds at least. But Apex, they have some cool modes that come out during the year, but a lot of them are kind of recycled, and it sucks. And I have said this over and over again. I would not mind, and I'm pretty sure everyone else would be happy for this too, if Apex just took 1 or 2 days, even a week off, because Fortnite did that once. They took a lot of days off to incorporate the next season. I would not mind if Apex did the same thing to make sure that there were some stabilizations of their systems. If they could incorporate some new updates, that'd be great. I would not mind that for a new season. And a lot of people have actually asked for the same thing, but there hasn't been any update on that. And it kind of sucks. I love Apex, and it pains me to see it not doing so well. Obviously, there's Pro League that's happening right now for ALGS. So people are watching it and they are playing. But I have seen a lot of people drop off from actively playing the game every day. And I see a lot of major streamers switching over to Overwatch 2 or Warzone or something else, just playing other stuff and becoming variety streamers, because Apex just isn't providing them all of the updates that they need in a season. The start of a season is great. You get you get the new battle pass, you get to see all the new skins, you get to see the new character or weapon and the new map or whatever else changes they're bringing. And then after the first 2 weeks, you're kind of like, oh, okay, it's the same with a few updates. And it used to be enough, but I think with seeing what Warzone 2 even is bringing, like Mini Royale, the ATV Rocket League mode that's not Rocket League, and Fortnite with their entire engine overhaul, you're just like, man, Apex is fantastic, has the best movement in a battle royale, but maybe we could benefit from a few changes and going offline for a little bit. I would love that. So it sucks. Ranked, the population of people playing ranked has gone down as well, just because there are so many issues with lag, server latency, and it sucks. I love that game. I want to see it succeed, but it is hard to root for a game when it is not being supported as well as it could be. So this is my heartfelt letter to Respawn. Please give us more updates, and don't be afraid to take the game down for a day, 2 days, 3 days, please, just to incorporate some major updates. A lot of people would thank you in the community. It's just one of those things where I feel like it would, for the quality of life changes, yes, absolutely, it would be worth it. But moving on to happier topics, High on Life is the latest FPS game from Squanch Games, and it's of course made by Justin Roiland, and which, if everyone has probably heard of Rick and Morty. It's really cool. It was created by Justin Roiland and published by Squanch Games, which is his game company, and it released December 12th for Xbox One, Xbox Series XS, PC, and it's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, it's free. Just play it. I chose to install it on my Xbox because I wanted to save space on my PC, and also I heard it ran better on console anyway, so I was doing that. The movement's a little weird. Let me get all the negatives out of the way. Movement buttons are a little weird. Duck, like squatting being the down pat on the D-pad is a little strange, but aside from that, it's fun. I honestly didn't think I would like the constant talking from the gun and like other characters, but it works. It works in this context because you know you're going into this world. It's this alien world, and of course people are going to be talking and conversing with you because you're different, and they just want to get to know you. Also, these aliens are just very friendly and like very talkative, which is really funny. The humor works. It's not cheesy. It's not like Disney jokes or whatever, right? Like it's completely opposite. And hearing characters say fuck and other curse words so freely is so weird, but it is kind of realistic and refreshing in this setting. I really like it. So I've been playing through God of War Ragnarok. I've been playing Warzone and, all these other like really grittier games, right? And being able to play just a lighthearted, weird ass game is so fun. It's genuinely one of those things where like, you don't think it would be refreshing to play something that's so stupid, but it's great. And apparently there are a lot of Easter eggs that you can miss too. So the fact that there's so much more for you to explore is really cool. And like the whole premise of the game is that you're trying to go up against this like drug lord who likes to collect species and like suck their life force or whatever to make them into drugs, which is fucking weird, which is the whole point of this game. But there's so many things that you can do. There's so many different decisions and exploration you can do. Also, this game is surprisingly so pretty. Like the environments are actually so gorgeous. I find myself looking around and hoping that there's going to be a photo mode at some point because I don't think there's one right now. But genuinely, the environments and background are so pretty. So I was talking to the art director, and he was saying that a lot of this was like drawn by hand. A lot of it was like individually created for the backgrounds, and it's really, really cool. It's absolutely gorgeous. The colors, having such a colorful game is such a joy. Like Ragnarok is really pretty, and I think it has a lot of colors too, but nothing like neon bright things that are outstanding, like, and weird creatures, right? Shit you don't see, and it's really fucking cool. Also, another thing that I never expected was the boss fights in this game. The boss fights are actually really, really good. It took me a minute to like get into the flow of things, but like you basically incorporate movement, shooting, and like other environmental things with the boss fights, but I like it. It's fun. It reminds me of like Jack and Dexter, and it's really fucking weird. And I love that. That's like part of the charm. It's so cool. The characters are really interesting. Yeah, it feels like a Doom game on acid. Yes, basically like Doom Eternal, but on every single type of drug that you could ever think of. And it's so fun. It's a first-person shooter too, which is interesting. I would have liked to have seen our character a little bit more because we do get to select our character appearance, but you can't really customize them very much, and you don't see them, and they're also in a suit most of the time. But it is interesting. I haven't gotten through all of this yet, but I think I am. I think I'm about like halfway because Joel was also playing this, and we both got to the same halfway point, and he ended it. Or we both got to the same point, and then he ended up completing his run in about 2 streams after. So I think I'm about halfway through. So yeah, I have 3 guns. Love all of them. They're so cool. I just really love how unique this game is. It's not perfect, but it's really fun, and it's a really refreshing take on an FPS. And I actually really want to make that knife. I want to make Knifey into a cosplay prop because I love his design so much. This game is really good. I honestly do want to try this game. Maybe after my first playthrough, I want to try playing this game while high because I feel like it'll be really funny. I feel like a lot of things will make more sense and be more fun if I am high. And I feel like the developers definitely took that into account. They're just like, yeah, we want everyone to have fun with this game. Except for, kids. This is definitely not a kid game, even though it looks like it, but it is definitely not a fucking child's game. So don't let your kids play this game. Don't. Yeah, and all the different guns are really cool. They have their own personalities. I love the girl gun that I have now, which is like the Needler, basically. And she's super sassy. I love her so much. Yeah, the third gun is really cool. Has the razor blades, which is kind of like the Dead Space gun, but a little different. I love it. They're all so cool. The world, there's just so many different Easter eggs and jokes that you can miss in the art of this world as well. So I highly recommend this game. Again, it's not going to be everyone's taste because some people don't like the constant talking of the characters and such, but you can also turn that down in the settings, which is amazing. So it's really cool. The developers are listening to feedback from like early game access and stuff, which is amazing. Immediately upon getting your gun, it tells you that you can turn down the conversation between characters. And I'm like, oh, that's great. But like, that's also one of the best parts of this game. And it's not that intrusive. It makes sense. And it's really funny. I remember fucking up this jump one time with the second gun you get, where you can slow down, like you pause time for just a slight amount of time. And I kept fucking it up. And my gun just goes, well, I can't do everything. Like, that's gotta be on you. Like, I can't fix everything. And it was just really funny because they comment on what you do. And it feels like natural discourse. Like, it's shit that I was saying to myself that the guns ended up saying, and it felt very natural, and I really liked it. So if you want a nice fresh breath of air in terms of gaming and want a break from all the gritty stuff, this is definitely really funny. This is really funny. And it's not like normal gory either, because it's like weird alien creatures. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It's very fun. It is very enjoyable. But if you don't like it, I understand. It's not for everyone. But give it a try at least. It's on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, it's free. PC, Xbox, yeah. And they've been constantly rolling out updates to help performance and such, which is great. Like, literally, the day of launch, because they had early access for a few people, they implemented a day one launch update, which is great. And then a few days after that, another update. So they are keeping an eye on this, which is amazing. So yeah, go and support Squanch Games and play this game. It's really fun. I really enjoy it. All right. Well, this was a pretty full solo hosted podcast. I always feel bad talking constantly for like 40 or 60 minutes about games. And I don't know if the things that I say always make sense, but I don't know, always wanting to talk about FPS games. Especially so at work, I have been officially labeled our FPS expert at IGN. So I'm going to be put on for more FPS stuff. So like Rainbow Six, Overwatch 2, Apex, which is my bread and butter, more Call of Duty stuff. So I'm going to be doing all of that. So that is going to be my area of expertise, and I will mostly stay there. So a lot of the previews and such that I do will stay in the FPS genre. So that's just like a little update. And yeah, it's going to be interesting because I haven't played Rainbow Six in so long, and I also don't play Overwatch very much. So I'm going to have to like do a daily rotation of that. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but it's a little life update for you. Next Sunday, I will also be doing this live on Twitch, so make sure to stay tuned. The time may fluctuate. I want to aim for 2 p.m. PST on Sundays for live recordings, but we'll see. It also depends with like the holidays and such and whatever bookings I might get, so I'll keep everyone updated on my socials. So yeah, that was episode 4 of Snap Aim Podcast.